Euranet Plus Panorama is a weekly review of European news broadcast by our network of EU radio stations.
Hi there, I'm Jo, and you're listening to Euranet Plus Panorama. Lithuania's new governing coalition includes a populist party whose leader has made anti-Semitic remarks. This has sparked a new row in the Baltic state amid a groundswell of antisemitism across Europe. Remigius Žemaitaitis, the leader of Nemunas Dawn, hit the headlines last year after posting a saying on Facebook that roughly translates as, "Kids, grab a stick and kill that little Jew." Žemaitaitis, a serving MP at the time, stood trial in the Constitutional Court over this post. He was found guilty of breaking the oath of Parliament by promoting anti-Semitism. Under Lithuanian law, if the Constitutional Court declares that an MP has broken their parliamentary oath, the politician is voted out of office. Since the result of such a vote is a 10-year ban from holding political office, Žemaitaitis found a loophole. He jumped ship voluntarily, which has allowed him to stand for election again. In Lithuania's recent parliamentary elections, his Nemunas Dawn party became the third biggest political force. This brought them to the attention of the Social Democrats, who are looking for coalition partners. Yet their decision to invite Nemunas Dawn into the governing coalition has received international condemnation, including from politicians in Israel, Germany and the US. Indeed, US Senator Ben Cardin, chair of the Senate Foreign Relations Committee, said that this decision, and I quote, undermines the core values that unite our nations. On Thursday, the 14th of November, all of Lithuania's newly elected MPs took their oath in Parliament and got to work. The same day saw protests against the new coalition in a number of Lithuanian cities. While Žemaitaitis himself flatly denies he is anti-Semitic, the country's moderate president, Gitanas Nausėda, has denounced the coalition as a mistake. Presidential advisor Frederikas Jansonas suggests in an interview with Žinių radijas that the president intends to limit the damage.
The president has made it very clear that members of this party should not even be put forward to him as ministers, because this would be a reason for him not to approve them. To put it simply, if we think, as the president does, that the coalition in its current formulation is a mistake, then such a mistake, even one committed by others, should be fixed, or at least the damage controlled. In this case, not appointing members of this party as government ministers is a form of damage control. Damage that is clearly being done to Lithuania's image right now.
MEP Virginijus Sinkevičius, who was a commissioner in the outgoing VDL Commission, stood for election to the Lithuanian Parliament as a member of the centre-left Union of Democrats for Lithuania, another party in the country's new governing coalition. Despite winning his seat, he has decided to stay in Brussels. He cites several reasons for this, including the makeup of the coalition his party has entered into. When asked by Žinių if he could explain Lithuania's recent domestic politics to onlookers around the world, he played down the controversy, while also expressing regret that so many voters chose to back Žemaitaitis.
Lietuvos pozicija šiuo atveju jinai nesikeičia jokių atveju.
Lithuania's position does not change in any respect, in any way, and anti-Semitism is not tolerated. And there are court rulings on those statements as well. This proves once again that such statements are not tolerated in Lithuania. He has himself clarified his position by offering apologies and explanations. He does not represent any institution. Yet it is unfortunate that someone who has been found by the Constitutional Court to have broken his oath received such a show of trust from the people.
But while everyone is keen to play down the situation in Lithuania, things appear to be hotting up for Jewish people in much of Europe, particularly following the now infamous 7th of November football match in Amsterdam, between local team Ajax and Maccabi Tel Aviv.
Jongens op scooters gingen kriskras door de stad.
Boys on scooters crisscrossed the city looking for Maccabi Tel Aviv supporters. It was a case of hit and run. Football fans were punched and kicked, after which the rioters quickly took off again, fleeing from the police force that was on full alert yesterday. And I fully understand that this brings back memories of pogroms.
Ik begrijp heel goed dat dit de herinnering aan pogroms terugbrengt.
That was Femke Halsema, the mayor of Amsterdam. But according to Albena Asmanova, a political science professor at London's City University, who is speaking to our colleagues at BNR, Europe's political leaders are quick to jump on violence against Israelis, which is invariably presented as antisemitism. At the same time, she notes, violence and racism targeting Arab people often goes unchallenged.
The attacks on Israeli football fans in Amsterdam provoked a huge, very strong reaction. They were declared a pogrom directed at Jews. The Dutch king said we must not turn a blind eye to anti-Semitism without mentioning anti-Arab violence.
Others certainly share this view. In Belgium, for example, an organisation that works to fight anti-Semitism has lodged an official complaint against a student movement known as Université Populaire de Bruxelles, or UPB, for inciting hatred and violence towards Jewish people. The organisation cites comments posted on UPB's social media pages, comments such as "No Zionists in our neighbourhoods, no neighbourhoods for Zionists." For its part, the student movement claims that the fight against anti-Semitism is being instrumentalised in the service of Israeli propaganda, and that voices speaking out in solidarity with Palestine are being repressed. RTBF shares this story. Indeed, polls suggest that many Europeans see Israel's heavy-handed response to the initial Hamas attacks as just as unjustified as those attacks themselves. So, what could help to stop the intensification of emotions on both sides of the divide? In other words, in the pro-Palestinian and pro-Israeli camps? BNR puts this question to Asmanova.
Listening to the voices of Israeli students, for example, who say, "not in my name," referring to killing Arabs in their name, that is, paying more attention to critical voices, the Palestinians critical of their leaders, and the critical Israeli voices that consider the positions of the opposite side. We need more of these brave voices.
In July, a report by the European Union Agency for Fundamental Rights revealed that 96% of Jewish people questioned said they had been victims of anti-Semitism, and 80% of them felt that the situation had worsened in recent years. Half of respondents were worried about their safety and that of their family. Online anti-Semitism was found to be especially widespread, with negative stereotyping, Holocaust denial, and accusations regarding the actions of the Israeli government the most common manifestations of it. At the same time, according to a Commission report published in mid-October, progress has been made. Some 23 member states have developed national plans, and 25 countries have adopted the International Holocaust Remembrance Alliance's definition of anti-Semitism. The Commission has also allocated €5 million to the protection of Jewish places of worship and institutions, and Brussels has launched a network to combat anti-Semitism online. At the General Affairs Council in October, EU ministers reaffirmed the EU's commitment in this regard. Then Belgium's Hadja Labib, who will be the next Commissioner for Equality, told MEPs at her hearing on the 6th of November that she would step up the fight against hate speech, targeting both anti-Semitism and Islamophobia, in order to combat the growing violence against these communities. Labib's goal is the adoption of the Horizontal Anti-Discrimination Directive, which was proposed in 2008 to ensure equal treatment of people, irrespective of religion or belief, disability, age, or sexual orientation. This directive has been blocked in the Council by 3 member states: Austria, Hungary, and, perhaps surprisingly, Germany. With Berlin currently embroiled in something of a political crisis, it appears that Chancellor Scholz is having to watch his step. But RTV Slovenia's correspondent in Berlin, Maja Derčar, says that there is certainly no lack of support for Israel in Germany. It's strong under Chancellor Scholz and could prove even stronger under his likely successor.
If Friedrich Merz, the leader of the Christian Democrats, succeeds Scholz as a chancellor, support for Ukraine and also for Israel will increase even further.
Following up on last week's episode, all 26 commissioner hearings have now taken place. Polski Radio reports on Piotr Serafin's successful bid for the budget role. In a process that went more or less without incident, the Pole was backed for the role by the Parliament's committees on budgets and budgetary control immediately after his 3-hour hearing. Among other things, Serafin assured committee members that there was no risk of the regions being marginalised in the post-2027 budget.
The cohesion policy plays and will continue to play an important role. However, we must all, as beneficiaries of the European Union budget, be open to an honest discussion about reforms, about what we can do better. The European budget is not a rubber stamping exercise, so we need to find ways to ensure that the money in the European budget, for example under the cohesion policy, can achieve its objectives. This includes objectives relating to reforms set out at member state level with the involvement of the regions.
On Tuesday, the 12th of November, it was finally the turn of the 6 potential executive vice presidents to take questions from the floor. Italy's Raffaele Fitto did not have as easy a ride as Serafin. The right-wing politician, a member of Giorgia Meloni's Brothers of Italy party, is up for the role of executive vice president for cohesion and reforms. At the hearing, Fitto gave a region-friendly performance, saying that the cohesion policy needed to be simplified and made more flexible, as well as modernised and strengthened. The policy, which accounts for a third of the EU's long-term budget, must also be better aligned with the EU priorities, he told MEPs. However, left and centrist parties are calling for Italy's commissioner-designate to be stripped of the high-profile EVP title on the grounds that his party did not support von der Leyen's re-election. As such, he was thoroughly grilled and heckled by left-leaning lawmakers. Meanwhile, in what appears to be a tit-for-tat exercise, the right has blocked the approval of the executive vice president for the clean, just and competitive transition, Teresa Ribera, reports 100.7. They are accusing Ribera and her government of being responsible for the consequences of the deadly floods in Spain's Valencia region. Matteo Salvini has weighed into the debate, suggesting that all this political infighting can only weaken Europe's position vis-à-vis the US. That said, he has also implied, says Radio 24, that his far-right party Lega, together with the rest of the Patriots for Europe group, might reject the proposed VDL Commission en masse when it eventually comes to a vote at the end of the month.
Fitto and some of the other commissioners are good people, up to the job, and I hope they don't get caught in the political crossfire. But the new commission is starting out very weak. If, even before it is established, the Socialists and the EPP are fighting while Trump is off to a flying start with appointments and clear ideas, which you can like or dislike, but which are clear choices. Well, if Europe wastes any more time, we will have to rethink it all.
In summary, the ultimate outcome of this highly political series of hearings remains unclear. And with that, I'll sign off. Do come back next week when we'll have a special episode to mark 1,000 days of Russia's invasion of Ukraine.